Kaiser Soze, Maximum Carnage again. I think it was the last war, could have been 2 wars ago, that we had a war with CNB. And CNB is a real high-level clan that they import players, recruit players kind of thing just for specific wars, and they've been in Clash of Clans tournaments, etc., etc. They absolutely destroyed us in the war, and rightfully so. They did a lot better attacks, and they were just much better than us, for sure. But one thing I noticed just with antis attacks using GoWiPe, and I've seen it before, is the deployment of the golems. So normally, if you're going to use GoWiPe, the basic order of deployment is you put down golems to tank, followed by whiz to not only create a funnel, but you also deploy the whiz to start taking out whatever is damaging those golems in a pretty quick manner. And once you've got the funnel established, and once you've got the whiz supporting the golems and starting to take out the defenses that are killing the golems, then you can deploy wall breakers to be able to break the golems in wherever it is that you want the golems to be able to push, and hopefully you'll have those whiz coming in behind the golems setting off things like spring traps, hopefully, giant bomb sets, things that can do more damage to the wizards, and then the wizards come in behind and start taking out those defenses to keep the golems up as long as possible. They work together. Then you follow that with heroes, using your spells appropriately, and then it's simply a matter of making sure that you have a plan for the back end, GoWiPe. If you're not being able to push evenly from one side across the entire base, and what I mean by evenly here, I'll just say, here's a line of defenses or trash buildings, and then another line, and then another line, and another line. And you start making your way through that base, and you want to be able to take out sections evenly all the way through. If you can't do that, what's going to end up happening is you are going to run into a situation where your troops have pushed in and made a hole in the base. And for GoWiPe, this is one of the worst things that you could possibly do. When that happens and you end up saying, okay, well, here's, I've got these GoWiPe troops and they've all pushed to the core, you then have all of these external defenses shooting at you. And if you don't have troops and you don't have a plan for those defenses and you've created that hole, GoWiPe's going to die. If you want to keep GoWiPe up, you have to take out the base in an orderly manner. You have to go through it line by line, right? So you have to say, here, I've got to take this all out as I go through and be left with this row of defenses. And hopefully in that situation, you still may have other troops up. You may have golems, for instance, that are tanking over in those corners, and then all the defenses can be shooting specifically right directly at the golems while your other troops come in behind. And that could be a plan with GoWiPe, fine, but that means that the plan is you're going to really pay attention to where those golems are. Use jump spells or other techniques to be able to make sure that they stay spread and even throughout the entire base, to make sure that when you hit the back end, you've still got tanking from the golems are still up, and you've got some sort of support for them. And that's, I think, one of the difficulties certainly with GoWiPe is trying to make a plan that lasts actually all the way through the base and control where the golems are. But if you don't have that plan, then you may be much better to say, okay, well, I'm going to plan on just having this core taken out with my GoWiPe, and then I've got something in the back end planned, right? So I've got back end loons or back end hogs that are going to come in, and I can just deploy them on the edges strategically if they're hogs, 2, 3 at a time, and I won't deploy them until those defenses begin shooting at whatever my GoWiPe troops are in the core. And then that becomes your plan. Not only does it relieve pressure on the GoWiPe troops and keeps them alive a lot longer, but it deals directly with the defenses while they're not even shooting at whatever it is that you're doing. And the reason that you want to use hogs or balloons for that is because they target defenses. So they won't pay attention to the trash building and the storages and the builders' huts. They will just go directly after those defenses. Generally speaking, if you're considering using those back-end troops, you take a look at where the air defenses are and you say if the air defense covers, I'll just take this away here, if the air defenses are going to be down, and there's no air defenses going to be left in that section, then I want to put some loons on the outside. If on the other hand I can't get to those air defenses, and there's just no way for me to be able to take them out, say these two air defenses here, naturally you wouldn't be able to take them out if you're going to attack with GoWiPe from this side, at least not quickly. You wouldn't want to account for it. So at that point you'd say, okay, well, once I push through and get that core, I'm not going to use loons, I'm going to use hogs, and I'm going to target some hogs specifically on these defenses. But I'm not going to deploy them until those defenses are beginning to target the troops that are pushing from the core. You know, and everything's got to be on the fly. When you're in war, it happens that something goes on. But you need to have a plan, and the back end plan ends up working out better. The back end plan ends up working out better if you don't have a specific targeted strategy for pushing GoWiPe through the base. And the reason that it works out better is because literally you could just take 8 to 10 hogs, sometimes even 6 hogs, or sometimes it's just a clan castle of hogs that you can dump in a corner, and the hogs can do a lot of work and a lot of damage to the defenses and take out a lot of defenses while nothing's even paying attention to the hogs. You just got to use, again, hogs if the air defenses are spread and you're not going to be able to take them out with GoWiPe. If air defenses are more in the core or in an area where you're going to be able to take them out with GoWiPe, then you can use loons, because the loons naturally, cannons don't hurt them, mortars don't hurt them. Loons end up being better than hogs in those cases where half of the defenses in that area won't even shoot at them. So, use the scout and all that other stuff. So anyway, back to GoWiPe in terms of the even, being able to evenly hit the border. So I'm going to zoom this in for 1 sec here. And now wall breakers. I just want to point out something here with the wall breaker AI. So let's say we put in a wall breaker and we say, I want the wall breaker from that area to go straight to the wall. It's not going to happen. What's going to happen is if we put in the wall breaker in that spot, the wall breaker is going to go here. And why does the wall breaker go there? Well, the wall breaker targets whatever building is nearest to the opposite side of the wall. So because there's a space here where that mortar is, the wall breaker is going to target the whiz tower. And it's always going to target the whiz tower no matter where you end up deploying in this entire area. If you're putting a wall breaker anywhere in there, those wall breakers, no matter where you're going to deploy it, are always going to hit the whiz tower. They are not going to go to the mortar. So if your plan is, I'm going to go to the mortar, you're going to be in trouble. So recognizing that now, you say, okay, if I've got a golem that's going to be beaten on the wall, what does the golem do? The golem goes to the nearest defense. And almost certainly it's going to be this whiz tower. So a golem's going to be sitting in front of that wall, pounding at the wall and distracting the defense. Because it's a whiz tower, they deal splash damage. It's going to be really difficult with that whiz tower still standing to get a wall breaker in and kill it. Now over here, you can see this structure. That gold storage is right up against the wall. So if I deploy a wall breaker over here, it's going to go to the gold storage. If I deploy it there, it's going to go to the gold storage, and same with there. So all that stuff, that's where the wall breaker is going to end up going. Because it's targeting that building that's on the opposite side. I'm just going to put that back in the middle. So if we want an even spread on this particular base, we can put a golem somewhere over here, but we got to be conscious that the wall breakers that you deploy are almost certainly going to fail. We can put a golem over here, and then understand that if we end up putting in further wall breakers or any wall breakers in support, the wall breakers are going to go over here. And then once we've got that, so we need to understand that's what's going to happen. As soon as we start breaking in, this is what we've got. So if we're going to deal with that particular section, and we understand that that is where the wall breakers are going to break to, we can then wait until the whiz tower is firing at the golem to make sure that any of the wall breakers that are going to go to that gold storage are going to be protected. We can also wait until that whiz tower that's shooting at everything ends up going down. We just wait until it's dead. And how's it going to be dead? Well, it's going to be dead through the wizards taking it out. But certainly what we want to do is have a strategy for deployment that makes sense. So we could say, I'm going to put down a golem. Here, I'll use some arrows for that, actually. So we could say, I'm going to put down a golem, and the golem's going to go here. I'm going to put down another golem, and we know that that golem in that direction is actually going to be going almost certainly to this whiz tower, because that's the closest. And we say, well, what's the coverage area? We could start touching these defenses to be able to see how far they roam. But we're going to break in with wall breakers at the end, and those wall breakers are going to go to the gold storage. So that is going to be the point of entry. Now with that stuff, we may end up wanting to bring something like a jump spell. And we could put down our jump spell. Just going to move it over. So somewhere there with a jump spell, and that's going to give our golems, once the wall breakers get in by the gold storage, access to that full core. And then we say, okay, well, what's happening here? What's the problem if we do this? Well, the problem is we're going to outline this area that we now have access to. And we say, okay, so that jump spell is going to give us access to that whole area. Now, what do we have left? Well, we have on the outside this entire horseshoe of troops. And that horseshoe is a dangerous, dangerous thing. It's really going to be difficult for us to be able to break in with GoWiPe, because all of those troops on the outside, the defensive structures, are going to be shooting at everything that's in the core. So that's a problem. And it's difficult in this scenario to say, well, this is a base that's easily GoWiped. And it's difficult because of that. It may be a strategy, and again, we're talking about coming in from a specific side, and this is the side that Anti ended up coming in from. But we might want to have a different plan, whether or not we look at attacking from a different side. We have to explore the opportunities. Hey, what if we attack from that side? What happens if we end up putting in our jump spell on the opposite side, somewhere in here? Or what if we use an earthquake there? What happens to the base then? The horseshoe that could be potentially created with these troops are much less of a threat, because wizards can easily shoot over the wall once they're in the middle to be able to take them out. A lot easier than coming in from the town hall side direction. And those are things that you have to look for when you're scouting. And we go from there. Okay, so that's enough of the pre-scout kind of thing on the base. And, okay, so we're back to be able to watch the attack, and we're just going to kind of take a look at a few things here. All right, so she puts in a golem, and that goes to the archer tower. You can see on the second golem she puts in goes to the mortar because it's on the outside, and the third golem goes to the wizard tower because that's the one that's closest to the wall. Now a Tesla pops. The wall breakers go in. Now the wall breakers that were originally going to be attracted to that gold storage, naturally, are now attracted to the Teslas that have popped, and that's something that you have to be mindful of. But you can see where those wall breakers are going, and they are dying. They're all failing as a result of where they were placed. So wall breakers themselves, if you don't have something that is completely distracting, it ends up being a big fail in terms of what ends up happening. So it would have been much better to simply stop. Definitely you don't want to deploy your wall breakers right after the golems. The wall breakers are going to, if they are successful, they're going to push the golems further into the base and leaving behind the trash, which means the golems are on their own, getting attacked by more and more defenses. And at the same time, there's nothing to support those golems in terms of wizards and kill the defenses that are killing the golems. The wizards are going to have to work longer and longer on the trash. So normally, you'd want to put wizards just on the outside of where your golems are, a few, to start a funnel, because you don't want anything else being distracted. So here, Anti's got the golems that are going in. The wall breakers have failed. The Wiz are now taking out. You can see that it's pushed in. They've taken out the Wiz tower now. And they're working on the Teslas that are around the wall. The Queen, the King, everything's stepped up. And if we pause it again, we can see that the P.E.K.K.A.s have wandered because the trash wasn't cleared for that funnel. So in some cases, having that happen ends up being just good fortune, because you want to have some P.E.K.K.A.s and trailing Wiz clean out some outside buildings. You can see up here, though, these wizards that are now running around to the trash because no funnel was created. She didn't take out the outside trash buildings before the inside. They're going to be on their own. And these outer defense rings, as the wizards move around, are going to die. So you end up killing off a lot of the Wiz. And the Wiz are the thing that really drives GoWiPe. The whole point of GoWiPe is to get the golems tanking and the Wiz really, adding destruction. So we got a Lava Hound that's come out of the clan castle. And we're just waiting now. I'm going to stop here. We're literally a minute into the battle. And within a minute, every single troop has been put down. There's no other troops to deploy. The King is already dead. The King's ability was either used or not, but it's down already. There's a rage spell, 2 poison spells that are left. And we could see the damage is at 31%. Now if we were to pause it again, now look in the core, we can see both these crossbows are killing already what's in the core, because they're long range defenses. We got Teslas doing damage to the outer troops that end up walking on the outside, but we could see that a hole has been punched in the middle, clearly, and then there's this horseshoe ring of defenses that are on the outside that no matter what's in the core, as it continues, is just going to attract more and more attention of those defenses. The outer defenses that we have for cleanup here, especially on the top end, just died. Those are the Wiz. And then on the bottom end, you can see the P.E.K.K.A. As it just goes through the trash, it gives ample opportunity for every single thing to be able to shoot it on the outside. So again, we'll pause it, and we say, once again, what do we have? Again, that distinct horseshoe, a hole punched in the middle, and right now is the point that those external troops, because it wasn't a plan, there was no real plan to support it, no further Wiz were added to keep those P.E.K.K.A.s tanking, and you don't want P.E.K.K.A.s to tank anyway, really. You'd like P.E.K.K.A.s to come in and do some, high damage to an area, but that hasn't happened. So there's 56 seconds left, no troops left, no spells left, and it is a fish in the barrel. Right now, everything's just shooting into the core. So if the plan had have been a more even attack strategy across the wall, along with some back-end defenses as things are shooting, you can see here this cannon. If you put literally 2 hogs on that cannon, the cannon's going to die, and then the hogs are going to move on to whatever ends up being next, and the hogs won't even be shot at. The hogs literally can take out the cannon, that Wiz tower, that archer tower, and they'd be outside of the range of that Wiz tower. So for 2 hogs right now, you could take out all those defenses and keep those troops up. And having a plan just for that one quadrant that's like that, saying I need to have 2 hogs left as long as I can get a golem and keep a golem alive in that corner is a big deal. And if you can't do that, if you can't plan that attack to keep something for the back end as needed to take care of those defensive ends, then you need to have at least a plan for GoWiPe to make sure that you hit that base evenly across the section. And if it's a base structure that doesn't allow that, if you can't hit it evenly, GoWiPe has a much, much, much lower chance of success. By bringing in something on the back end to support those troops, it ends up being hugely beneficial. And then the other thing, the wall breakers, understand where they target. And another important thing is don't put the wall breakers in before the Wiz. be patient a little bit. Some bases you have to get the whiz in immediately because there's something that's going to, desperately require it. And in most cases, though, you want them in as soon as possible. But you want to start the funnel first, and you start the funnel by cleaning the outer trash buildings to take them out of the picture to make sure that your troops, like P.E.K.K.A.s and everything else, don't wander off unless you want them to wander, and you have to have that plan. If you don't have a plan, you're going to end up with just low percentage GoWiPe on almost any base that has perimeter defenses. All right. Kaiser Soze, maximum carnage, more to follow later.